Okay, I think the music stops means it's time for me to start. And as I'm not a dancer, it's very appropriate that I should start when the music stops, because I can't dance the signal. Right, so today I'm going to talk about why Hawaii is such a good place to do astronomy. So I'm going to kind of give you a bit of an overview of where Mauna Kea is. Now, I know we've kind of just come from the Hawaiian Islands, but still some of you maybe didn't go up to the observatory. So I'll give you a little overview of where Mauna Kea in particular, as opposed to just Hawaii in general is, and some of the telescopes that are on Mauna Kea. I'll actually briefly talk about some of the great observatories over the last 200 years, and this is kind of my list. There's no way I could talk about all of them, but I've chosen some to illustrate how observatories have evolved, if you like, over the last 200 years and gone to more and more remote places in a way that we just couldn't have imagined 200 years ago. So why do we do astronomy on Mauna Kea? Why are there hundreds of millions of dollars worth of telescopes on the top of the mountain? I'll talk briefly about the beginnings of Mauna Kea, which I actually didn't know about until I did the research for this talk. So that was interesting for me to find out how the place got started as an observatory. I'm going to talk about pretty much all of the main telescopes on the observatory, just kind of give you a one-slide summary of each of the telescopes, telescope by telescope, and then I'll summarize at the end. And I shouldn't forget that there will be observing. I didn't show the slide for that yesterday because I was kind of running out of time. So if I run out of time today, which I hope I don't, but if I do, there will be observing. Last night we had a fantastic time. We were there from 8 o'clock and I kind of conked out at about 1 o'clock in the morning. But when the moon went down at midnight and the ship had turned the lights off, you could see the Andromeda Galaxy. So if those of you who saw the Andromeda Galaxy, was it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. So if you want to come along tonight, the moon is not going down until about 1:20 a.m., by which time I will be in bed. But I will show you before then where to look for the Andromeda Galaxy, and if you want to wait for the moon to go down at 1:28 a.m., or if you want to go to bed and get up early, you will know where to look, because at any time from 1:20 onwards until the sun comes up, you should be able to see the Andromeda Galaxy. So if you're a late going to bed or an early riser, 1:20 onwards, but I'll be in bed by then, I think. But I'll show you where to find it. Okay, so this is a NASA picture, which I think is probably over 10 years old by now, of the Earth at night. And of course, the problem we have in astronomy is all of this stuff, light pollution. So Japan, Europe, the eastern side of the United States and Canada. You don't stand a chance in hell of seeing anything as faint as the Andromeda Galaxy from these places, or at least most of the parts of these places, because there's just too much light. And so observatories are nowadays built in more and more remote places, and it's partly because of light pollution. It's not the only reason, but certainly light pollution is a factor. And I mentioned to a few people last night, as you already know from my introducing myself, I work and live in Cardiff, and about 4 years ago they designated the national park, which is nearest to Cardiff, which is called the Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales. They designated a dark site, and that means that they take care of the lights and they make sure that the lights don't get any worse, and those lights that they have, they shield properly. And so it is pretty impressive. If you go up from Cardiff 1 hour north into the Brecon Beacons, you can see the Milky Way quite clearly. I haven't gone up there to look for Andromeda Galaxy, but having seen it again last night for the first time in a few years, I'm now inspired to go and look for the Andromeda Galaxy in the Brecon Beacons over the next few months, and I'm sure I'll be able to see it because it's pretty dark. So even if you do live in one of these overly populated parts of Europe and North America, you actually don't have to go too far to get to a dark place. If you get an hour or so out of a city, as long as there's obviously not another big city next to you, you can often get to a dark enough place to see the Milky Way and other faint stuff. Okay, so where is Mauna Kea? Now, as I say, I realise a lot of us were on the Big Island the other day, and some even went up to Mauna Kea, but this is kind of more to remind myself than anything else. So Mauna Kea is on the Big Island of Hawaii, and so here we have the Hawaiian chain of islands. This, of course, is the Big Island. And Mauna Kea is the northern northern mountain, if you like, or it is a mountain, on the big island, with the southern one being Mauna Loa. And Mauna Loa is, of course, active still. Mauna Kea hasn't erupted for a long time, and our guide told me how long, I can't remember, but so it hasn't officially been classified as not active, it's dormant. Let's hope it doesn't erupt again, otherwise there's a lot of very expensive telescopes that are going to be ruined. But it is there, and the coordinates, I guess the longitude isn't really important, but the latitude, it's within the tropics, it's just a little bit closer to the equator than 20 degrees. So it's 19 degrees and 49 minutes north of the equator. So it is well within the tropics by several degrees. It's obviously within 20 degrees of the equator. And that's important. I'll explain why. So Mauna Kea is the highest island mountain in the world. And as we've been learning from Douglas, it has significance for Polynesians because it is the highest peak in the Polynesian islands. So it has a particular sacred importance, and kings over the history of the Polynesians have been buried there, have been possibly taken from other islands thousands of miles away to be buried there because it is the highest peak in Polynesia, the highest island mountain in the world. And we were kind of playing a game when we were coming down from Mauna Kea the other day, trying to figure out where's the next, how far away from Mauna Kea do you have to go to find the next highest peak? And I can't remember where we decided in the Himalayas, I think. I got this picture on the ship in the morning that we pulled into the big island, and I'm really pleased with this picture. Whereas it did cloud over later, the sun was on the peak of Mauna Kea, and although you can't see it in this picture, and I took this picture with my iPhone, actually, not with my camera, but you can see a few telescopes on the top of the mountain if you zoom in. So I was really quite pleased with that picture, and obviously this is the bay that we were moored in. So, and because Mauna Kea is quite close to the equator, only 19 or so degrees north of the equator, that's very useful because it means you can see the entire northern hemisphere of the sky. Okay, so everything that is north of what we call the celestial equator, everything that's in the northern part of the sky is accessible to you. But also a good fraction, some 75, could even be as high as 80% of the southern sky. So whereas in a place like Wales, where I'm from, most of the southern sky is not accessible to you because you're too far north, by the time you're where Mauna Kea is, you can observe a good fraction of the southern sky and all of the northern sky. So that's definitely a good reason to be that close to the equator.